Shalom, everyone. We're back for episode 5. I'm Sharaf Jason Wilson. This is
Elisha Nunn.
And this is
Jason Wilson.
Good. To my right, and Elisha Nunn is to my left. Those of you who are viewing on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like the video, of course, if if this is something that really could help you. But this episode for sure, if it could help you as a young man
or as a parent.
All right. And so what's the name of this episode, guys?
The title for this episode is How to Survive Your Parents. Now we're not trying to make it sound like a war zone with your parents. We want to make it less of a war zone. That's pretty much the entire purpose of this episode.
Right.
We want to teach everybody, or specifically teach kids, how to create a bond with their parents and also respect and honor them without the expense of their mental and emotional health. Mm-hmm. But we also want to teach parents, or give them insight as much as possible, how to keep that relationship with your child. A lot of times, parenting is hard and it's very complicated. So you can, by accident, just end up damaging the relationship with your child because some parents simply don't know what to do. That's mainly the goal.
Okay, yeah, because as a parent, when you hear the word survive, it's like, man, what do you mean survive?
Yeah,
that's like if me and a couple of fathers had an episode titled How to Survive Parenting Your Sons. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad you gave an explanation to why you chose that word, because it is survival, and surviving really isn't a bad thing. It typically means that you're in a tough situation, though.
Yes.
Sure.
So good. All right. So again, as we discussed prior to this episode, this is the discussion you guys wanted to bring up. 100%. So I'm just here, and I'm going to chime in for the parents out here, but I'm really interested in seeing what you guys have to say, because like I often say, I said it maybe on the first episode, that you guys don't get enough, your voice isn't heard enough, which is why I created this platform, right, so that we can, as parents and educators or ministers, pastors, whomever, can hear from your heart. All right. So again, I'll let you guys start it off, and then I'll chime in.
Okay. So we got 3 main bullet points that we want to hit. The first one is respectful communication. We want to talk about that, simply how to communicate with your parent. Specifically, this is for children, but how to communicate with your parent respectfully. So you can communicate and get your point across, but it can become very, very disrespectful at times. The next one we want to talk about.
Can you give me an example?
So let's say an example here.
Hold on, before I go before you, were you going to revisit that? You were just giving us but go ahead. You gotta let me know, because that's really, I'm really intrigued on hearing that. So go ahead.
Yeah. So another point I want to hit is building a relationship. So you don't want to have a robot relationship with your parent. You still want to actually create a bond with them. The parent wants to create a bond with you, with the child, but whether the child wants it or not, the child needs a bond with their parent. Naturally, it's just a need that the child has. So that's one thing we want to touch on. The third one we want to touch on is more of a practical step, but it's pretty much have somebody else to talk to. So it can be very, very stressful when you're dealing with this. It can be very, very stressful when you're talking to your parents and trying to build a relationship, etc. So you do need other sources to healthily, like in a healthy way, remove stress or cope with stress. So let's start off with respectful communication first. I feel like that's one of the most important ones here. So first thing we want to start on is Ron's football analogy. This is one from Ron. I love this analogy.
Who is Ron?
Mr. Ron. Mr. Ron is a director or an executive
program director of the union.
Program director of the union. He is somebody who's been helping us learn how to we've been interns under him and Sharath pretty much. And he's been teaching us a lot about custom avatars, a lot about marketing. He's been teaching us a lot about life in general, just how to go about your life in general in a professional and a smooth way. And one of the things he talked about in this is communication. And Ron's football analogy, it's like, the way he explains it is that there's a football player, he's a quarterback. Tom Brady, let's use Tom Brady as an example.
Right.
He can throw the most pretty pass, right? Spin is perfect, accuracy is nice, but if the wide receiver doesn't catch it, did he do his job? No, he didn't do his job. His job was also that he needs to make sure that the wide receiver can catch the ball. Now, it's not 100% on him, but it is heavily on him to make sure the wide receiver catches the ball.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
That's good. So what about if the quarterback, all he can do is really get the ball to him?
Yes.
If he drops the pass, does the crowd boo the quarterback or the receiver?
The receiver. So in that scenario, I would change how I say it. I would say it's not his job to make sure he gets the pass. It's his job to make sure that the wide receiver can grab it.
Yes.
So an example is if I'm trying to ask you something, I'm trying to tell you something, I'm trying to tell you an example that Jason used. I want you to talk on this more.
All right.
But an example Jason used is that he was telling his mom that could I take out the trash later? And if I could say, I can't do it right now. Cool, I'm telling you that right now I can't do it, or right now I'm in a problem, but that makes it hard for you to actually catch the ball. It makes it hard for you to receive the information I'm trying to give you.
That's good.
And that's really the main idea.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's really good that you unpacked it even better, and I agree with that. What did you want Jay to share?
Yes. So we're gonna go into verbal communication. I think that's the first thing. But one thing is verbal communication. We have two things. There's the what, the words that are coming out of your mouth. Then there's the how, the tone, the manner in which something is said, but then also the cadence and the speed in which something is said. So like rhythm. If I'm rushing through something, it can show that I don't really think it's important. If I'm, hold on, wait a minute, mom, hold on, wait a minute. That shows a sign of disrespect because I don't think what you're saying is important. Right. So a question I have for Jason really is, how about this? I want you to bring up that example where you were talking about how you were on the game and your mother asked you to take out the trash and exactly what happened.
So when I was on the game, it was like, I think we was playing Fortnite, and Fortnite's an online game. You cannot pause it. So in that moment, in my head, someone asked me to do something in that moment. I'm like, okay, Mom, can I do it later? And I had to be more specific with it because later can be so broad. So she took it as that, and she was like, what did you say? I was like, can I do it later? And she was like, Jason, you do what I say now. I was like, I'm sorry, Mom. And looking back on that, I should have worded it as, hey, Mom, I'm on the game right now. Can you give me about 15 to 20 minutes so I can finish this game? And then I'll do the trash or do whatever you need me to do, and I'll get right to it.
Yeah.
I mean, as a parent, actually, you've asked me that a couple of times, or, because, as a parent, I give the flip side to that. Sometimes, we can be a little dogmatic with it and not really considering, your time. So to me, if I ask you to take the trash out, it's really not urgent. But because we feel that you're not being obedient or whatever, no, do it right now. And we know the trash isn't being picked up until the morning. And so what I've learned just working with you, Jay, is to, especially when you present it that way, say, hey, Dad, sometimes I ask you, hey, are you in the middle of a game?
Right.
And that's when it's not urgent. But if it's urgent, I say, hey, I need you to get off the game and take care of this. So parents, for me, for what you're saying is true, we need to consider their free time or their downtime, like when we're reading a book or watching the football game as a father, or if, like, for example, Mr. Dante said a while ago, he was doing something and he was just trying to relax and the kids kept coming to the door, Genesis and all of them. And I asked him, I said, why did y'all keep coming to his door? And he was trying to rest and y'all keep saying you want him to rest. And sometimes we're not considerate, or we're quarterbacks not throwing the ball accurately. Yeah. And so here it is the kids saying, we do want Dad to rest, but yet we want Dad to do what we want done. Right. And so I guess from the flip side, as a parent, I would say, just in our transparency, we need to be more considerate of your downtime, because you guys are dealing with a society that is completely different than the way I grew up. Yeah. So you need your downtime.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a good example. That was a really good example. The what and the how. So, yeah, the what, it kind of shows that your what, yeah, that's important, but your how is like, that's like, if I'm feeding you ice cream, but the ice cream is all melting and stuff, you're not going to want to eat it. Right. Because it's made horribly. How you deliver it is still important.
Yeah, so you would tell young men or young girls who may be watching, it's important. Would you say the tone of their voice is important as well as when conveying a message to the parent?
I would say it'd be your tone and your cadence. Those are the two things. So your tone is the manner in which something is said.
Right.
So if I say something in a calm manner, it's better because it gives off less of a disrespectful type of, I guess, vibe in a way. It sounds less disrespectful. If I say something in a very angry manner, I can't do that right now. Leave me alone. Like, you start bucking up. It sets the tone. I can say something extremely nice. An example is, hey, Mom, can I do it later? I'm currently doing something right now. That sounds more respectful than, hey, Mom, I got to do it later. Can I do something right now?
That don't even sound respectful to me as a parent.
Yeah, understandable.
Well, why would you? Why
That was just-
even though you said it nice,
Yeah.
your choice of words were disrespectful as a parent.
Okay.
So, like, it's important that we all become verbal processors, right? That's why I love the way you guys had the freedom in the cave to express yourself. So what I would suggest, this is just as a parent, and y'all can come back again because this is what it's about. I would have liked to hear, hey, Ma, can I share with you something that's going on with me right now? Or why you need to do what she asked later. Because, you know, Helene, your mother's a single mom, has a lot of pressure. So even though you said that nice, it's still your word choice could be offensive or even hurtful for a woman who's sacrificing so much to do something for you.
Yes.
So you may need to say, you know, something like, hey, Ma, I know how important it is for me to do what you say when you say it, but can I share with you something right now? I'm really dealing with something emotionally, something happened at school, just something. And could I just is it okay that I do that a little later? But if you need me to do it now, I would do it right now.
Yes.
Right.
And that's all I'm saying, you know.
Yeah. Like the acknowledgement of the command. How you acknowledge
Yeah,
the fact.
always, like you said, always acknowledge, like with you guys. I never, even any of you tripping when we training in the cave, emotionally just angry or something just happened, I don't say, hey man, get it in order. I say, why are you feeling that way? Every time, right?
Yes.
Why? Because I want you to be able to articulate the feeling. So when you learn how to do that as a young man, now as a parent, you make us drop our guard. You see what I'm saying? But if, you know, we used to you not talking respectfully to us or considerate of what we possibly have going on in our lives, just like you want us to be considerate of what you have. You doing that when she asks may make her feel like she's being heard when her boss and others on the job may be taking advantage of her or et cetera.
Yes.
So you got to say, hey, Ma, you know, like I said, present, you know, acknowledge that you heard her, but then present to her why you need some time. And then always say, well, Mom, you know, again, at the end of the day, or Dad, you know, if you want me to do it now, I'm going to do it. It has to be done. Yes. I just wanted to share with you right now, I'm not doing too well. Right. And a loving and a good parent, you know, would consider that, you know. And again, you got to give us grace as well. You know, we're not robots. We have feelings too, and it may just be a bad day for Mom and Dad. No, go do it right now. But almost always the good parent will come back and say, hey, you know, I'm sorry for that. Yes. You know, I didn't hear you. All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Your next point. That's really good. I'm glad you brought that up.
So emotional control. That's one in verbal communication. So I kind of look at it like this. There's emotions that rise up while you're communicating, but then there's a non-verbal communication. So body language, etc. But then there's a verbal communication. But the root of all of this is emotional control. So if you can get your emotions under control, you can stop yourself from reacting out of anger, etc. So basically, how to control your emotions in a respectful manner. I'll give an example for this. My mom, it was also not sooner, it's similar to what Jason said. I don't know exactly what I was doing, but she had told me to take out the trash, right? But I was angry. I wasn't angry at her. I was angry at something else. I believe it was the game. I could have been a sibling or anything. But I remember I was at the house. So I'm guessing it was a sibling maybe. I was angry. And I responded like, all right, that was disrespectful. Because it was like in a nasty manner. It wasn't, all right, I got it. It was, all right, it was whatever. And basically, I didn't check that emotion, right? So what I learned then, my mom was like, she got on me. She pretty much got on me for that. She told me, don't ever talk to me like that again. Around that time, she was setting me straight on communicating in a respectful way. And one thing later on, during a class, you had pretty much talked about giving your time like to process how you're feeling instead of just reacting. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I ended up doing was that I would one of the things that ended up helping me communicate not out of emotion is to pause before I speak. A scripture that talks about that is James 1:19. He says, "My dear brothers and sisters, please take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." Again, that's James 1:19. So taking that time to listen, quick to listen, 1 to 3 seconds or 5 seconds maybe to speak before I respond. Not 5 seconds. That's a little long. That could come off as disrespectful. But taking that short time to just process how I'm feeling and check that and respond out, have that gap to where my emotions can't affect what I say.
Right.
That allows me to just control my emotions so I don't respond in a very negative way. Next point we want to hit on is nonverbal communication.
Nonverbal communication.
Yes, sir.
Good.
So
All right.
you can say something, right, without actually saying something.
Right.
That's the main point. And Jason, I want to ask you, what are some ways that you can communicate without actually using words?
It can be negative and positive. You know, with me, nonverbal communication can be a very bad thing because one of the points for nonverbal communication is body language. I can suffer with body language a lot. And you can read me easily. Just say, for example, my mom tells me, "Hey, Jay, you need to start doing your homework. I know you're having fun doing I know you're having fun on social media, but I need you to do that homework. You can't have any missing assignments." I'll be like, all right. I won't even say anything sometimes. I'll just look at her. And, like, I just notice myself doing that, like, afterward. I'm like, dang. Or I'll just, like, my stance will be off. Like, I'll do all shruggish stance. My facial expressions, that's my main thing. I'll really, like, tense up my face. You know.
Or you would seem like you just not there. I often say, yes, man, I wish you could see your face right now. And what's crazy, it's not intentional.
Right.
You know, and I guess as a parent, I can say I've been wrong misreading really what you were feeling because your facial expression, Jay could be just chilling. He'd be like this.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so, but I like, man, do you hear what I'm saying? I like you know, and so I guess I can be transparent too. When Jason was growing up, he would read my body language and facial expression. So as a parent, we also have to be careful because I wouldn't say, man, you made a mistake. Well, my facial expression to be like he did. Like, and Lil Jay said, I can see it on your face. And so a lot of times parents, our kids can read our hearts by our facial expressions. Okay. The scripture says out of the mouth, the heart speaks. And so sometimes words that's not said also speak as well. Yes. What I mean by that is if you really care, if it's, you know, something important, you know, speak it and say it. And it you know, my father's silence hurt me more than him saying something because it communicated that I wasn't even worth his time to even talk to.
Right.
And so as parents, I just wanted to chime in because, again, we tend to always blame the child and we don't see ourselves in it as well. And so, but we got that from our parents. Our parents would say, I don't care what you're thinking, you better listen to me and go get that. It was, you couldn't say nothing. You couldn't question nothing. So you guys are in a new era where we understand that way of parenting was something rooted more in survival.
Right.
Okay, considering where we just came from as a people. You understand?
Yes.
And now we're getting to the place, okay, cool, let's get out of fight or flight parenting and to listen and reason because you're an adult. I mean, you're not an adult, you're a human being. When you get to a certain age like you are now as a teenager, we should be able to talk.
Yes.
All right, that's good, Jay. Go ahead, continue.
Right. Another point I had was like, if your parents tell you to do something, don't be all lax with it. Like, I notice sometimes whenever either you or mom ask me to do something, I'll just be chill with it. And I won't expect, like, you guys want me to be urgent with it. Like, you guys want me to do it faster. So I'll be chill with it. Like, that's my mood. However my mood carries me with it, that's how I'll be acting. Like, I walk that way. Like, if I'm on a chill mood, I'll be walking slow, you know, just taking my time through my day. Yeah. But if your parent is in an urgent, you know, feeling, they gonna rush you and you not in that mood, so that's gonna change your mood. So you just have to be able to adjust to all moods that your parents can have, and just
Have a sense of urgency.
right.
You always tell us you be like, hustle up, hustle up.
Right.
Yeah, but that's in training. But at the same time, as a parent, I don't want you to feel that you're in an anxious environment. Like if I say, "Hey Jay, bring me a cup of ice water," if that takes you 5 minutes, that's gonna make me angry. You got it?
Right.
But I don't want you like scream, "Let me," and get to me in 30 seconds.
Yes.
Right.
You got me?
Right.
I don't want that, as a parent, but I don't want you, taking a long time to do something, because that means you probably were still doing what you were doing.
Yes.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying too, Jay. On the flip side, as a child, you don't want, to take your sweet time with it. Like I get to it when I can.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
good.
Your
That's good.
urgency is, most of the time, or at least like half of the time, it can reflect the level of importance that something has.
Right.
So I guess it's just learning that balance and it's just learning how to not be extremely anxious when giving a command, but also like get to it. You know
Yes,
what I'm
sir.
saying?
Yeah.
Get to it.
That's good.
Next topic we want to talk about is how parents can communicate effectively, and then how children can also communicate effectively.
Say that a little slower.
What we want to talk about is how parents can communicate effectively, and then how children can communicate effectively.
Okay, good.
So parents and children, because just the age group, the different responsibilities, and just different lifestyles in general, we communicate differently.
Right.
And then different generations, etc. You can be 2 generations behind me. I could be 2 generations ahead of you. So the main idea is that how parents can communicate effectively to their child, or mainly their son. I want to talk about their son mainly because that's what we can understand.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the main points is, in a way, talk to your boy like a man. I guess that's a hook, but not exactly what I'm saying. Really, your child is in their adolescent years. So if you're watching this, 9 times out of 10, he's in his adolescent years. So he's not a man, but he's transitioning from being a boy. He's in that process. One of the things that will happen is that we're not going to respond to you talking to us like a boy. Whether you're right kind of goes back to the what and how. You can be right in what you're saying, but if the how makes us feel a certain way, you're going to get a whole lot of knockback. That doesn't mean it's okay, but really the result is, if you're talking to me like a child, if you're like, okay, you got to be here at this time because of this, or you got a curfew, let's say that. I don't want to, if you're talking to me in a way like, get back here at this time, because if not, you'll have this. If you're talking to me like an 8-year-old child who got to be put in timeout, I'm not going to receive that
Right.
correctly.
I feel like
I'm
you're not being
receive it.
trusted.
Exactly. Versus if you say something like, hey, I need you back at this time simply because this reason, that reason, your safety, my responsibility, you also have this in the morning, etc. If you're laying it down like you would lay it down for a colleague when you need them to do some work on a project that you both have, I'll receive it better. So that's
Exactly.
one point.
And it's also like, I like what you said at the end. It's like they care about your schedule, not only theirs, but yours. So they're setting along, they're meshing both of the schedules so they can see what times are available and what's not, and how it's going to work throughout the day.
Yeah, what's good. I often say with boys, I talk to young boys as a grown man. So people say, well, how do you get the whole room to be quiet like the way you do, and without yelling? I don't talk to a 6-year-old, 7-year-old like they're babies or even their age. When I talk to a 6-year-old like he's 17 or 25, I get a different response. Y'all don't ever hear me, get this, here's it, you got to, I never do that.
Right.
I don't care if you're 6 years old, just starting in the cave, I'm going to talk to you like a grown man.
Yes.
And you're right, Elisha, it really does, it makes the person on the other end, well, in this case, an adolescent or teenager, feel that, like you say, Jay, trusting them, but two, more so that they can understand what you're saying without you yelling at them or demeaning them.
Yes.
Right.
And so that's really good. I like that one.
Like gives off. Really is like when I'm being talked to like a child, I feel like I'm being forced to do it, and that just has a different type of vibe around it. Versus the idea if I'm being talked to like a man, it's like I look at it from in a way like a man's lens in a way. Oh, this needs to be done. I'm not doing my job. This is my fault, etc. Versus I'm talking to it like a child. I'm like, man, a child is going to look at it like an immature way. Why are you telling me to do this? I want to do this, etc. Just
Right.
talking to them that way pretty much sets a different standard, I guess.
Real quick, so what do you guys suggest a parent do if they talk to their son respectfully? You know, hey, remember you gotta be at work in the morning, so I need you to be back here at a certain time, okay? And that's it. But the young man doesn't do it.
One thing that my mom ended up doing with me is that she would create a system where it would be realistic to the punishments I would receive in real life. So it's, in a way, it's like, if the law in the house is like, I can't be out by this time, and I come back past that time, what I'm going to do is I got to stay in my room for a certain amount of time. And I guess that responds like, not like 5 minutes, like a day or something. That entire day, you got to do this. In a way that was like, I don't want to say it was like prison, but in a way it was like a reflection of the cops in the world will treat you like this when you don't obey this law because of this. So I'm telling you to come home at this time, right? And if you don't, you're going to be sent to your room. Food will be put at your door. It's not going to be very well cooked. It's going to feed you. It's going to be healthy and nutritious, but it's not going to be no gourmet 5-star meal. You're not going to have your phone, etc. It'll be like, in a way, a healthier version of prison, I guess, just for like a day. And what that did was that made me take things more seriously.
Right.
I just took it more seriously because now it's not, I get grounded for a week. That's viewed as like a childish punishment, right? A punishment that you give a child, versus that I'm being put in that position where I feel like, okay, I'm a man, I need to step this up. And that's something that she did for me personally that helped me.
Okay, good. All right.
I like that.
All right.
But how can children communicate effectively to their parents?
I mean, I think you guys already touched on it. You know, the key thing is first is respectfully, you know, be respectful. The Bible talks about honor your mother and father so that your days will be long here on earth. So again, always keep that in your mind. The way you're responding, is it honorable? So I think if you root the principle without giving a lot of steps, if we root the principle in just being honorable and respectful, I think, you know, that would basically sum up what needs to be done.
So you talked about honor, but the next thing I do want to talk about is love languages. Love languages, the idea is, you know, there's a language, there's all these different languages, but it's the same with love. You have different languages with love. People receive love differently, people give love differently. And when you build in a relationship, it's important to understand that. So let's first start off with I think there's 5 languages, I believe. 5 languages. There's acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, and then there's also giving. If I am somebody who receives love through quality time, but you're constantly giving me like gifts and stuff, there's not going to be something. It's going to be, I'm going to receive love, but I wouldn't receive the love or as much love if it was through you simply sitting down and spending an hour of just 100% focused time and giving me your fully undivided attention. So that's really the main idea when you're talking about love languages, is you got to understand when you're building a relationship with your parents, they might want you to give, right? They might want hugs, and they might want to sit down and talk to you. And you got to understand that even if that's not your love language, if you want to build a relationship with them, you have to put that to the side and understand that you're trying to give them love. So you have to give it in a way that they receive it.
My issue with love languages is if a person, like for me, for instance, as a husband to your mom, Nicole, if I only can receive or want love a certain way, how healthy would that relationship be? So let me give you an example. Nicole loves to travel.
Right.
I don't. For her, my love language would be if she just said, hey, let's just stay home and do this. But because I opened myself up to be bilingual, I am blessed now even more because I can travel.
How did you open yourself up to be bilingual?
I never bought into the concept. You know, I try to be comprehensive with my love, meaning I try my best to be open in that regard. That's how I can work with you guys so well. When you were younger, I never taught with the template model. You ever notice that I never had This is how you teach. Do it this way. Kid acts this way, you do this way. Kid acts that way, you do that. I never did that. I taught per child. I listened, and he's different. She's different. That's different. But if I would have had my curriculum just fixated in this box, I don't believe the cave would be as successful as it is.
Understandable.
And so, although I understand why they created love languages and what it's for, a lot of marriages fail because we don't allow the other person to express the love the way they want to express it, and to learn to appreciate it as well as myself. So far as the child and parent, one thing you said is really good is having that time where it's not just dad talking with Jay at dinner table, but I'm literally focused on him for an hour. And that's real important to Jay, and really it should be to the parent. It's not just something that Jay wants, I should want that as well. That's what I'm saying. You got to be careful when these new type concepts come out. As parents, we are not mind readers. No one is. When you get married, you realize, look, hey, babe, I need you to tell me what you need. Mm-hmm. I can't read it. And same thing as husbands, we'll get mad. Why didn't she do this? Well, you didn't say, or you didn't ask those things. Yeah. I've been guilty for that for so many years. As parents, we want to know what's going on in your lives. How can you help us breach this like invisible wall that we feel when you guys get teenagers? It feels like you don't want us around, or like, I just rather not talk to you, dad or mom. We want to be there. What can we do, or how can we get you to express what's really going on inside, what's going on in your personal life? And then can you tell us, how do we prohibit you, or what do we do that make you feel so guarded that something that could be really troubling you won't tell us?
Well, I feel like step one, to the second part of your question, it can be, for parents, I feel like, to not be so intrusive. If you're being intrusive, it's like, I know that you care, and it's good that you care, but since it may not be something I wanted to tell you, it's like, may get on my nerves and make me mad. So it's like, that's how I would feel. And for the first part of your question, it's like, be there, but give them your space, like I was saying before. I mean, just as a kid won't share something with their parents because...
You can look at me, dog. I know you're talking about me, man. Go ahead. Say what?
I'm talking about both.
I know. I'm just joking, but go ahead.
A kid won't share something with their parents because, like, one, they don't feel comfortable. Two, they won't feel comfortable because of, like, they may have done something wrong to cause the situation to happen.
Like, parents, do you hear that? So it's not necessarily our fault that they're not talking sometimes, but that they possibly could be the cause of it. But can I chime in? Because that's very important. I got caught, and I make this real short. I was trying to sell drugs, okay? And the marijuana was bad. Okay, the very next, or within, we didn't have social media, we had house phones. People were calling me saying, hey, man, such and such is going to be looking for you tomorrow because you owe them $1, because that's what one joint would cost, all right? Or rolled up marijuana, for those who don't know what a joint is. I didn't tell my mother. I didn't tell my father that I had put myself in a situation that literally could have been life-threatening. You know who I told? The gang, the guys who I got it from. They came up to my school with guns. No one knew it, but they were watching to make sure I got home and caught the bus back home. That could have turned out completely different. So although you may have caused the situation, don't lean on your own understanding, all right? And the scripture talks about that we should acknowledge the Most High, and he would direct our paths. But we know, as a child to a parent, especially if you got a father who's a man of the Most High and a mother who's a woman of the Most High, be transparent with us and say, hey, Ma, I made a big mistake today, and I think it may be detrimental to me tomorrow. trust me, we rather help you and be stressed out helping you get out of that instead of planning your funeral or getting you a lawyer. You got it?
Right.
So I love that. That's real. We need to, give you your space. But please know, if you got something and you did something and you scared or whatever, if you got a good parent or someone who's listening, who loves you, go to them. And then to your point, what you wrote, and this is perfect, leads into that, Jay. Parents, and learn from me, his sister is really, like, she's been a blessing his entire life. But Alexis was much older than you, so she's like a mother to little Jay almost.
Right.
Can you talk about the importance, like when you can't come to us, how important for the kids who are watching, the young people and parents, how important is it for you, Jay, and then Elisha, I'd like for you to chime in, how important is it for you to have your big sister Alexis there as a buffer between you and mom and dad?
It means the world to me. It's like, I'm glad we built our relationship while we were younger, because that's the key thing. And while she lives in California, it is still distant. But I know she may not pick up all the time, but I know I can still call her. I can still talk to her about anything. Like, even my toughest days, I'll call her. I'll talk to her. Like, and she keeps it real with me. Like, if I'm in the wrong, she'll tell me. I got to receive it no matter what, because when she's telling me something, she wants the best for me. And it's like, since she wants the best for me, I got to understand that. You got to have someone in your life that you can trust with anything. And you got to have someone that you can be like, hey, I mean, today at school I had a rough day. So-and-so pushed me, I pushed them back, and now it's just all over social media. I don't know what to do. I'm just stressed out. I don't want mom and dad to find out. Like, you got to have someone real you can talk to. And they're not going to push you out of the situation and, like, get the best outcome for you. They're going to give you the best outcome that's best for you, not best for the whole situation.
That's very good. Even with your sister Alexis, your mom and I purposefully put younger people between us and her. Mahogany Jones, Light, and I forgot who else, because we know, she wasn't going to talk to us about everything.
Right.
Same thing in the cave. I got Sharaf Chris. That was by design. I needed someone who isn't like a father figure to you guys, but is like a brother figure. Because I know you're going to tell him stuff that you may not tell me.
Like you said, Chris, I talk to Chris about a lot of stuff. Right. So I got a single mom. So there's some stuff I just can't talk to my mom about because I'm a guy.
Right.
Simply like that. And then Chris is like an older brother figure. And I have older brothers also. And I talk to them about it. But Chris is somebody I can go to because I know that I guess he's more experienced in a way. That he's more, like, he understands both sides to the story pretty much regarding parents. He understands to a certain extent the parenting side, but he also understands being a child and what the child needs also. So it's like, that's my reason I can trust him. He's an unbiased source. He's going to tell you straight up what needs to be done. But also, Chris is very committed in his walk with Yah. So he's going to tell me what's from the Bible. He's not going to, I don't feel like Chris will ever stray me away.
And that's good. So we can close on that too, because you need someone to talk to, but it got to be the right person.
Yes.
Because the wrong person can lead you astray.
Yes.
Yep. And so for us, the right person is definitely someone who is Yah-fearing. And for those who don't know why we say Yah, you can Google it. That is actually the Hebrew name for God. All right. And so someone who follows and fears Yah should not lead you astray. That's number one for me. That was Mahogany. That was Light. We could trust them with Alexis. I can trust Chris with you. I can trust Uncle Ron with you because I know who they are and what they've been through. I've seen them be tested as men and still stand past that test.
Yes.
And so those of you who are listening, you're young, make sure, do not, we have a saying, suppression leads to depression. Don't be in your room. Don't be isolated. That's what happened to me as a young child. I didn't have, again, my parents were dogmatic, Shut up and do what I say. That's it. And my mother was full of trauma because my brother was murdered. So it was a whole different dynamic. But if I would have had someone to talk to, like you're saying, I wouldn't have risked my life at least 3 times. I would have been able to share with someone how I felt about my father not being there, and my grades wouldn't have plummeted. You know, and so that's really good. And I think we can close on that because, again, it's important that the Bible says he who isolates himself rebels against all wisdom. All right. So you want to make sure that you do not isolate yourself. You want to make sure that you make yourself available for counsel. The Bible also says where there's abundance of counselors, there's victory. Do you guys have anything to say before we close out?
I guess understand the big points. The main points is learning how to respectfully communicate, understand the verbal communication, the what's and the how's, the nonverbal communication. We want to understand not buying into love languages, but also understanding them at the same time.
That's very good.
We want to, and also, like I said, we want to just repeat it one more time, have somebody to talk to, because that's like the buffer between a lot of negative things that can happen.
That's really good. And I would say, you know, don't limit ourselves with love languages, with just the 5. Those of you who are watching us, thank you for watching. Those of you who are listening, thank you for listening. Again, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Shalom, we see you. Y'all can look at that camera right there and subscribe. Those of you who are listening, it'd be great to get some more subscribers as well on the Cave of Adullam's YouTube. And so again, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. If you would like to support the Cave of Adullam, we are always in need. You can visit www.thecatta.org or even simpler, savingboys.com. Thank you. We're going. Shalom alaikum.
Alaikum shalom.